The purpose of me making this video is to help you understand the process of buying a house just a little bit better in Norway. Hey there, welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to buy a house in Norway and what are some of the problems you could encounter and what you could do to avoid this problem. So with no further delay, let's get into the video. When it comes to buying an apartment or a house in Norway, the first thing you need to do is to find out how much money the bank is willing to loan you or how much money you can qualify for. The way the banks determine how much loan you could get is by taking your incomes and times it by 5 minusing all your debt. For simplicity's sake, let's say you have an income of 60,000 euros per year and all your debt is equal to 70,000 euros. What the bank is going to do is take your 60,000 euros income and times it by 5, which is going to be equal to 300,000 euros. And the bank is going to minus your 300,000 euros income minus the 70,000 you have in debt, which is going to be 230,000 euros. So theoretically, that's how much you could get in loan. I said theoretically because the bank might not give you the full 230k. The reason for that is the bank wants you to be able to pay back your loan normally with no stress, even if your interest rate increased by maybe 5% or maybe even more. Another thing that could reduce how much loan you could get is how much money you're spending on all your other expenses, excluding your housing cost. Some of these expenses include beverages, food, clothes, and car, for example. Personally, I feel like this is unfair because the banks, they don't look at your personal budget, but what they look at is the national average of what people are spending for your age bracket. Let's say you're between 20 and 30 years old, they'll look at the average of what people are spending to determine your own budget. And I feel like this is so unfair because some people are so crazy with their money, but it still affect you, even though you might be good with your finances, but it will still affect you. For example, on average, according to them, they say people spend 7,200 per month on food and drinks. And for me, I don't even spend half of that, Half of that is even more than what I spend on food and drinks every month. But for them, they say that's what it takes. So if they are making the calculation, that's what they're gonna include for my food and beverage, 7,200 Norwegian crowns. And I feel like this is unfair. That's my 2 cents. I know it was a little bit of a rant, but let's continue the video. If you are going to buy a house or your apartment with your partner, the bank will take into consideration both of your income and your debts. The whole point of all this stress is for the bank to see your ability to pay back the loan. So your disposable income after all your expenses, of course, excluding your housing expenses, will play a very huge role in how much you could get from the bank. After you found out how much loan you could qualify for, the next step is getting your down payment. If you are above 34 years of age, you could loan up to 75% of the market value of the house or apartment you want to buy. That is to say, you need a down payment of 25%. So let's say, for example, you want to buy an apartment or a house that costs 2 million crowns, which means you're going to need a down payment of about 500,000 crowns if I'm not mistaken. But if you are under 34 years of age, you need just 15% as a down payment. So if you're almost 34, you have to hurry to buy because that's a really big difference, If you buy the same house for 2 million, if you're 34 years or plus, you're going to need 500,000. But if you're below 34, you're going to need 300,000 in down payment. So if you're almost 34 or you're below 34, you should hurry and try and buy something because after that, then the down payment just increase a lot. These figures only apply if you're buying your primary residence or your first home. If you're buying your second home or rental property, the down payment you need is anywhere from 25% all the way to 40% depending on which part of Norway you want to buy the house. If for some reason you don't have all the 15% or the 25% needed for a down payment, you could use somebody as a collateral to stand for you between you and the bank. And that is to say, that person, they might say, if Musa cannot pay back this loan to the bank, I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to pay back the loan on his behalf. In most cases, I would not recommend to anybody to stand as a guarantor or use a guarantor to get a loan from the bank. The reason for this, I believe the government put all the systems in place to see who can qualify for a loan without no problem, If you don't qualify, then maybe it's not the right time for you. But I know in some extreme situation, you can make exception. That's why the government have what we call the start loan in Norway. They will give you a loan to buy a house if you don't have the money for the down payment. But that's some extreme situation. So if you're not in that extreme situation, you can qualify for some reason for now, I'll recommend you just wait a little bit more. Here comes the fun part, looking at property and going to open houses. Before you start going to open houses, I would recommend you first use fin.no to look online in the area you want to buy a house. And then you make a list of all the properties you think you might be interested in. By looking online, it will help to give you a very clear idea of what you want. And also, I really recommend that you have a list of things you are willing to compromise on and things you are not willing to compromise on. For me, for example, the bathroom have to be in a good shape. The kitchen for me, for example, I can make a new kitchen, it's no problem. But the bathroom for me, it have to be in a good shape. So it's things like that you could look at and have that list of what you must have in the place you are looking for versus what you don't need in the place you're looking, what is not so important to you, for example. This one is not common in Norway, but I recommend that everybody's going to buy a house or bid on a house should do this, You should come with your own personal inspector, and your inspector, you want him to check things like the plumbing, you want him to check like the electrical work, you want him to check like the structure of the house, you want him to check the roof and stuff like that, the foundation. Those things that cost a lot of money to repair, you want him to check it. Usually in Norway, the seller, they provide like an official report from our inspector to tell you like the standard of the house, but for your own security, I would recommend you just pay for it because it wouldn't be that expensive. I would recommend just pay for it and have that peace of mind. Now it is time for bidding. When you find a property you want to buy, it's really so important that you read through the prospectus very carefully. Within this document, you will learn about things like the structural integrity of the house and the neighborhood, for example. You should pay extra attention to the Boligsaksrapport report. Within this document is where you're going to find all your technical information about the house. That is like the drainage, like the plumbing, the roof and stuff like that. So you should really pay special attention to this Boligsaksrapport report. If the seller discloses an information about something that is wrong with the house in this report, and you as the buyer, you don't notice it, then it's on you, Because if the seller say, for example, like, oh, this house, whenever it rains, it becomes flooded, and you as the buyer, you don't see it, you sign a paper, that means like you agree to the fact that you are buying the house in this condition, So it's better you find somebody who have more knowledge than you to like go through the paper with you and then like try to find all the problem you have on the house. You can use that to your advantage to even negotiate the price now. But you should always go through this report with somebody who have more knowledge than you because it's like really so important. If you sign it, you don't read it properly, then it is your fault. A lot of Norwegian people use this information to their advantage. Maybe within this document, you'll see like, oh, we need to redo the plumbing. We need to redo the electrical work. We have to change the roof. And let's say maybe the house was selling like for 5 million. Then you as the buyer, you might say, okay, like, yeah, I have to do all those things. It's going to cost me like maybe 1.5 million to fix everything. So I'm not going to buy this house for 5 million, I don't think it's worth it. Then like that, you might save yourself a lot of headache because you don't want to go and buy a house for 5 million. Why is it really worth like maybe 30 million, for example, you don't want to do that. So it's like really important to go through this document with a professional that will help you to figure out all the problems. And then you can use that to your advantage to see how much you can pay a maximum for the house or not. This information is like really so important, Before you bid on any houses, make sure you already have a financiering bevis, because the financiering bevis is like a proof that the bank will give you the loan, Even if you talk to somebody from the bank and then they agree verbally, they say we want to give you the loan, blah blah blah, and then you don't have the financiering bevis, you go and bid on a house, and then for some reason they change their mind, they say, well, can I give you this loan? You have to like find a way to buy the house somehow, because it's crazy, but you have to find a way, You should be aware of this. If the seller accepts your bid, it is legally binding. So no matter what the situation is, you have to buy the house, If it is by hook or crook, you have to buy it, But also the seller reserves the right to accept whatever bid they see fit, So maybe you might have the highest bid, but the seller will still not accept the bid. But usually they just go for the person with the highest bid. In most countries, when you're buying a house, you have a buyer agent, but not in Norway. So it's like really so important that you do a lot of research, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, You try to understand the rules and the regulations because you're going to be representing yourself, I think you can get it, but I'm not sure how it works. But normally people don't have a buyer agent. Like it's only a seller that have an agent, So you should be aware of this fact when you're making a choice about buying a house. The purpose of making this video is to help you understand the process of buying a house just a little bit better in Norway. And there is a lot that need to be taken into consideration when you're buying a house in Norway. So I really recommend that you do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people like agents, like bankers, like people who have bought house before. Talk to a lot of people. You're going to get a lot of help from them and do a lot of research yourself, So the purpose is just to give you a little bit of insight. So thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.